Evelyn.
And I'm Robert.
And we're talking about it.
So this is our bonus episode. Evelyn and I are going to go over our top 5 encounters.
So this is kind of like a season.
But I think this is one reason why we get the whole no breakfast, no second breakfast, no 11sies.
Yeah, that's where that comes from.
That comes from, being, I don't want to say highborn.
But just having enough to eat and having plenty.
Right.
And not having to worry about where you're, not having to worry about it.
Right. And then the other thing is, you think about how much they eat. If that's, if they really do have that many meals a day.
Mm-hmm. They're probably not in the best of shape.
Well, no. It tells you how young they are because they
their metabolism's still working.
They still have high metabolism.
Yeah. Well, I always figured hobbits had a relatively high metabolism for as much as they ate. Because most of them aren't as big as you would think.
Right.
Yeah. I always figured hobbits had a high metabolism in general. But that's what I was going to say where, our cousins, we have some cousins that have some money. However, they're still extremely hard workers. And they, my one cousin, she just became a veterinarian. And I'm so freaking proud of her. And even though...
That's a long haul.
It is a long haul. She just got her doctorate. She is amazing. Go you, Emily, if you're ever listening to this. But, it was, they don't complain about the hard work that they have to do to get it, and it's something that it's I think is really cool.
Yeah, and so my number one thing that I realized for the first time reading this book that Shelob does not have spider eyes.
Oh, but the human eyes.
She's got dozens of these mammal eyes instead.
Oh, freaky!
I know it is. It's freaky when you think.
I can't imagine, and it looks like a nightmare that Miyazaki would come up with. You got
dozens.
It sounds like a Studio Ghibli.
You got dozens of eyes blinking at you.
Yeah, it sounds like something out of Studio Ghibli would do from Spirited Away or something.
Right. Yeah. So, is there anything that you want to talk about one last time about the last book, or the last 2 books?
Not necessarily. I think we've done a pretty good job going through them. I think we're at a really good place where my interest is piqued. I want to see what's coming next. It is very hard for me not to read ahead right now. That's for sure.
Okay.
I'm very interested, like I was saying earlier, I'm very interested to see how Merry and Pippin will develop being separated. Also, now at the end of the book with Frodo being captured and Sam having to get him, I honestly did not think they were going to be separated at any point. And so that's a prediction out the window. And I honestly thought that and I think I predicted this too, but I was thinking that Gollum would not be separated from them until the very end. And so the fact that his betrayal came so soon, again, that was why I was so surprised, because I honestly was expecting him to kind of be with them to the very end. I mean, I expected more conflict. I just didn't think that this would happen. And so I'm very curious to see how that all goes.
Right. And I can tell over the 2 years that we've been doing this now.
I know. I can't believe it's been that long.
That most of the time, both of us we want to be fresh off the book coming to record, so we don't have time to forget anything.
Mm-hmm.
So often, you're upstairs, I'm downstairs, I'm writing my notes and doing my little bit of research.
And I'm reading and writing my notes.
And once in a while, I'll hear you go, "What?" Or, wait, let me, what?
I'm a very vocal reader. I'll be like, huh? What? Excuse me?
You hear her being confused, but you also hear,
and her flipping back so I can reread.
Or you'll hear her being angry that something happened.
I don't do it on this podcast, but I do swear quite a bit, I will say.
She swears almost as much as she says on the podcast.
Literally, that's probably true.
Well, if that's it, this has been our bonus.
Well, did you have anything else to say?
No, not really. I mean,
Okay.
I have really enjoyed doing this.
So, I mean, it's crazy. It's been over 2 years now that we've been doing this.
Yeah.
I think it's fantastic that we've been doing this so far. And we basically have like a mini project kind of in the works that we can tease a little bit. Since I teased it on the Discord. So what was going to be a bonus episode is actually going to turn into a mini series that we're going to be doing about Beowulf and Tolkien. Because in my research for the bonus episode, it turned out it's a lot more than I thought.
Yeah.
So it's going to be really cool once we get that all together.
And even when we start that, we might as well pull in some of the other stuff too.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, we already, if you're not a patron, we talked about the Valknet series, which is an old Icelandic lore that influenced Tolkien greatly, which is really cool. So that's something that you can go to the Patreon. If you become a patron, you can listen to.
Okay, yep. All right. Well, I think that's it.
All right. So I've been Evelyn.
And I've been Robert.
And we're talking about it. Ending/beginning, because I don't have my book yet for the next book.
Correct.
So we're going to go to Barnes & Noble soon.
Barnes & Nobles, you can pay for that advertisement if you wish.
Yes, please.
Then we have our top 5 non-fellowship characters. And then we got a special category for each one of us.
Yeah.
So let's start with our top 5 encounters. We're going to start at number 5 and go down.
Number 5 and go down. Okay.
All right. So my top 5 encounter, number 5, is Bill the Pony.
Okay.
He was purchasing Bree from Bill Fernie, who gave the Nazgul information about the hobbits. When they got to Moria, they had to let Bill go, and Gandalf talked to him with words of, quote, guard and guiding, telling him to go to Rivendell or home. Spoiler alert, we see him later on.
Ooh, okay.
Okay, what's your number 5?
I'm trying to do it backwards in my head. Hold on.
That's what paper and pencil are for.
Yeah, it would have been nice to take notes. Okay, so number 5, I believe, was the Battle of Helm's Deep for me.
That's number 5?
Yes.
Okay.
That was my number 5. I thought it was just really, really fun to read. It was fun to watch in the movie. It's definitely a, like, to me, it's a turning the tides kind of, legendary kind of battle where we have Gandalf coming in the final hour, to come and help rid them of their foes at last minute. And it's that trope of the guy on the white horse coming to save you kind of thing. And I really appreciated that.
Okay. So my number 4 is Weathertop. So this is the first time we get to really see the Nazgul.
Okay.
And if you haven't had any spoilers and this is your first time you're reading it, it's quite a shocking direction in the journey in this book,
Mm-hmm.
on the first book. So we have a lot of tension and then a little bit of humor, but then we really, really get to something serious because this is where Frodo gets wounded by the Morgul blade of the Witch King.
Right.
Which that wound affects him all the way until the end of the books.
Yes. Yeah.
And we also find out later that 3 days before the hobbits and Strider reach Weathertop, Gandalf was found by the Ringwraiths, and he had a fiery battle with them, which can be seen all the way to Midwater Marshes.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
My number 4 was another battle. It was the Battle of Isengard. Because, again, I am a sucker for nature taking back what's its. And it's just, It's such a fun. I had a fun time imagining it.
Remind us what that is.
Oh, so the Battle of Isengard is when the Tree Ents decide that they've had enough of Saruman destroying their forest and spreading evil, so they decide to, unlike the movie, quickly go to war. And they just smash everything. They flood everything. It's so cool. And it's very well written. And in the movie, it's really fun as well. Though I imagine the tree ants a little bigger in my head.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So my number 3 is the Balrog and Gandalf.
Okay.
Okay. So the Balrog is not the only one of its kind
Hmm.
because it's a primordial
Right.
type of beast. And interesting enough, when I was doing a little reminding myself, they used to basically be demigods at one time. The Balrogs are also known as the Mariar. They were corrupted by Melkor to serve him.
Lovely.
They're very, very ancient power entities. Like I said, they were almost godlike at one point. And the fact that Gandalf was able to kill one at all is
Is
nearly a
amazing.
miracle.
Yes,
And
for sure.
and through it, he kind of undergoes a resurrection of sorts and survives the ordeal.
Hmm.
He even has that change.
Right. Yeah.
So, and then one of my favorite memes associated with Gandalf's change
Hmm.
is when Aragorn and Legolas and Gimli meet him again. He says, "I'm Gandalf." And then Aragorn goes, "Yeah, but why are you white?" And Legolas says, "Dude, you don't ask people why they're white." So,
Solid Mean Girls reference.
yep.
Solid. I think we said it on that episode too.
Yes.
Um, yeah, for sure. My number 3 is actually, it's more of an event than an encounter, I guess, but I'm going to count it as such. It's actually the breaking of the fellowship, where I feel like the breaking of the fellowship, not just the chapter itself, but the events are very, very important and very telling at the end of the day of everyone's character. That's where I get a lot of sympathy for Boromir, where, yeah, he was corrupted by the ring. He was a man. Like, they're corrupt. Whatever. That's not how I meant to say it. I'm so sorry. But you get what I mean. Like, men, humans, we're easily corruptible. Anyway, so um so I thought it was just very important because at the end of the day, he's still like, he is fighting to the death to save Merry and Pippin, to save the rest of the fellowship, to save his own honor. And it takes a lot to bring him down. And not just that, but we see
He looks like
Frodo.
a pincushion in the movie.
Is like a pincushion in the movie. But we also have Merry and Pippin being captured by orcs, and even though they're injured, they still try to fight and they still try to escape, and they still manage to later. And then we see Frodo and his resolve to continue his mission, and Sam's resolve to help him, and Legolas, Aragorn, and Gimli knowing that Sam and Frodo need to do this on their own, so they're going to go save Merry and Pippin and go and just bond together to go to the ends of the earth to help others. And it's just so good, I feel.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so my number 2 is Faramir and the Hobbits.
Okay.
Right? I just like that scene in the book. I don't like how they twisted it for the movie.
Okay.
But I love that scene in the book. He is not Faramir is knowledgeable.
Mm-hmm.
He's kind of figured out what they're doing, but he's not really calling it out.
Right.
He also figures that Gollum may be attached to them somehow, and so that's
Right.
why he has Frodo go with him to see it.
Yeah.
And
He's just so nice and wholesome.
yeah, but he's also you also have to earn his trust, which I think they
Yeah.
do here, and
Mhm.
that doesn't show up in the movie that
No. Yeah.
well. And spoiler alert, we see Faramir later.
Well, I figured we would.
Spoiler alert, we'll see Gandalf later.
Figured we would. Can those count as my predictions?
No.
All right, so my number 2, you actually stole one. My number 2 was actually Weathertop.
Okay.
So, like you were saying, I love Weathertop. I rated it a little higher than you did because I feel like it's so important to that first book and setting up, like, this is our real first taste of danger. This is our real first look at the corruption of the ring.
Right.
This is a real first look about what Frodo is going to be going through, and it impacts him so much.
Yeah, it's where it gets serious.
It's where it gets very serious.
And where the hobbits realize it's serious.
Can you tell the coffee has kicked in for me?
Oh, yeah, really?
Yeah.
I can't tell at all.
But yeah, that's where it gets
Drinking coffee at 7 o'clock at night. That's really good.
I had 2 doctor's appointments and I was tired. So I got some Starbucks. Starbucks, want to sponsor us? All right. What was your number 1?
My number 1 is Merry, Pippin, and Treebeard.
Love it. They were going to be a special mention. They almost made the list.
Yeah, but they're my number 1 because it just Merry and Pippin have kind of been comic relief up until this point.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I shouldn't say that. Up until the point where they get taken by the orcs.
Right.
But that's a happenstance that they didn't have anything to do with.
Right.
But the Treebeard thing, they were,
they were active in manipulating events.
They were active in that. And they were active in say it again.
Manipulating.
Yeah, that word. And in the movie, I like the image of the 2 of them riding on his shoulders.
Okay.
In the movie.
Yeah, in the movie it's really fun.
And I don't and there's even though it it talks a little bit about that in the book, you don't get a really good visual of it. Mm-hmm. I also love the visual of Treebeard too, how they did Treebeard. Up until that movie, I've always just imagined it as a tree with a beard.
Oh.
I never thought about it the way the movie presents it there.
Okay.
So what's your number 1?
So my number 1 is Gollum versus Smeagol.
Oh, okay.
Where
yep.
I was, as you guys know that listen to this, I am terrified and freaked out by Gollum / Smeagol. I don't like it. But however, stop. However, with the book and reading it and actually like getting more in depth on the character and seeing the struggle that he has within himself and this like slight possibility of goodness in him if the circumstances were just right. And I absolutely love just the part where he's arguing with himself, where he's arguing about what's going on, where we're seeing these duality of his sides. And I feel like it's such an important thing for readers because not only is it a trope that has lasted into fantasy culture and literature itself, but it's also an important life lesson, I feel like, where you never know what people are going through and what circumstances can cause a person to do and become what they are.
Right. And
how there's always the slightest bit of hope, even in like the worst of people.
Oh, that's pretty good. I like that.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, so our next category was the top 5 non-fellowship characters. So what's your number 5?
My number 5, oh my gosh, I have to do this backwards as well. It was, oh my gosh. Okay, I remembered. Okay, so my number 5 is Elrond. I think he is just a great figure. Definitely love how he's this wise old elf that was there at the start of this whole thing with the ring. And him coming with that. And even though it didn't make my list, my close number 6 was Tom Bombadil. Just want to give him a shout out.
Okay, so I'm calling this my Tom Bombadil memorial list
Oh.
because everybody knows he's going to be my number one. So
Gotcha.
I am just taking him off the list so we can have a little bit more of a surprise.
Okay.
Okay? Anyone who's been listening, they would probably guess I would pick Tom Bombadil.
That is true, yes. The fact that you didn't speaks volumes.
Yep. So, number one, so number 5 is Thaddy Bolger. Full name is Fredregard Bolger.
Remind me who he was?
He was the other hobbit involved in the conspiracy.
You're right, yes. Okay, yeah.
Uh, he decides not to go because he's afraid of the Black Riders.
Mm-hmm.
Yet, he keeps them occupied almost enough time for the others to get away.
Yeah.
I also seen notes that say he had a bigger part in earlier drafts, but I've never seen anything else to confirm it.
Okay.
I've just heard third parties or second sources that say he originally had a bigger part. However, we will see him again.
Ooh, okay. My number 4 is Galadriel. Where, again, I feel like I feel like I'm just picking, like, the normal people. And, for Galadriel, it's so great, her gifts. And it's so important that she welcomes Gimli, the dwarf, into the elven society. And that's kind of where my mind goes, is how she treated everyone very equally. She gave them all very important gifts. She saw their worth. And she actually, like, she does the whole, like, crazy thing where she's like, I could be queen of the world, but nah, I'm good. Like, that part too, just all of it accumulates into just this, like, just a badass character, you know?
Right. Yeah. Well, my number 4 is Eowyn. Eowyn.
Okay.
She's a shield maiden. She is talked about in the book about her skill at arms.
Yes. Even though we see it a little bit more in the movie, it is mentioned in the book.
Yeah. She is Theoden's trusted heir if he does not return.
Okay.
And when Theoden asked one of his guards, who should I pick as my heir, because his son is now dead, he names her and says because she is fearless and all love her. So
yeah, you can really get the sense that her people love her more from the movie again than the book, but still a little bit from the book.
and that's still that shield maiden part, you know, she wants to be in the battle.
Right.
But she realizes it's not even reluctance. She just realizes, okay, the people are going to need a leader.
Yeah.
Even if my uncle is still alive, I'm still going to need to be the leader while we hide.
Right.
And so forth.
Yeah.
So she does that. She steps up and be's the leader she needs to be.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
All right. So my number 3 is Treebeard. I love Treebeard so much. I mean, he's just hilarious. He's hysterical, and just the thought of living, walking tree people is just enough to just make my list. But the treants themselves are just so cool, and I just love it.
Yeah, the whole idea behind it is pretty neat.
Yeah. And plus, they play a very important role, in Treebeard especially, in helping the war effort, essentially, against evil.
Right. So, my number 3 is Grimmel Wormtongue.
Really?
Yep. So, now I didn't say these were favorites. I'm just saying, remember, these are top 5.
You said top 5 you said top 5 favorites.
No.
That is the text. Hold on, let me double check my text. What text did you send me? Oh, top 5 non-fellowship characters. Okay, fine. I thought it was favorites.
All right.
Because I was going to ask you for a non-favorite.
Oh, okay.
Can I do a non-favorite?
Sure, you can do that
as a bonus?
a bonus, yeah.
Okay.
As a runner-up. So he's a great villain.
He is a good villain, yes.
He's a great villain. He's been working for years to corrupt Theoden.
Yeah.
And he's Saruman's spy. And nobody really figures that out.
And no one really figures that out until Gandalf.
Right. What's interesting also is, well, I don't think Gandalf necessarily figures it out. I think as soon as he sees who's theirs, he knows he's Sauron's.
Well, yeah, he knows immediately.
But also the reason he's done all of this for Saruman is he assumes that he will become an equal to him.
Okay.
All right. Later on, so after Gandalf tells him to get the hell out of here, he returns back to Saruman.
Right, he returns to Saruman.
And is in the tower.
Yeah.
And after the tree ants have destroyed everything, Wormtongue is stuck in that tower.
With Saruman. Mm-hmm.
And he takes that magic ball.
Oh, the Palantir?
Yeah, that he doesn't, I guess he doesn't realize what it is. Mm-hmm. He takes that and throws it and tries to hit somebody. Mm-hmm. And so that's how
they get it.
That's how they get it, because he's just so angry he's not thinking.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. No, yeah, he's a good villain for sure. He's definitely an interesting character.
Okay. So, what's your number 2?
My number 2, speaking of that, my number 2 is the King of Rohan, Theoden, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so my number 2 is the King of Rohan because I love his story arc. Even though it's very obvious that he's, like, under corruption, the second he's, like, out of the corruption, he's like, okay, I have messed up. I need to help my people. Let's do this thing. And he immediately takes charge. He is right there at the front of battle. He cares so much about his people. And I really like this character a lot.
Actually, that's my number 2 as well.
Really? Okay.
Okay. So, and once again, like you said, once he's free from Wormtongue, he becomes the person he was before it all happened. Mm-hmm. And he's a great leader.
He's a fantastic leader.
And, and he's not the king that stands in the background to say, go team.
Right.
He's military proud. He knows leadership. He knows battle tactics. Mm-hmm. He knows his land.
Yes.
And so that's
exactly.
That's one of the reasons I like him so much. Mm-hmm. And again, him being number 2 is one reason why I made Wormtongue number 3.
Okay.
Because when we realize what kind of person he is, mm-hmm. you really have to appreciate
just how much corruption he was under.
How long Wormtongue had to work on that.
Yeah, that's true. So, that's very true.
Okay.
All right. So my number 1 is Bill the Pony. Do I need an explanation? No. Will I give it? Of course. Bill the Pony, oh how we stan him on this podcast. He's so wholesome and sweet, and he comes from this, like, terrible, abusive place. And the second, like, literally within the first hour, he is with the fellowship, well, the pre-fellowship with the hobbits and Aragorn, still Strider at the time. He immediately improves. He gains weight. He looks better. He is glowing. He is thriving. He is living his best life. It's just, I just love Bill.
Yeah.
I just love Bill the Pony.
Yeah, I know.
So much.
Yeah, we talked about him
so
quite
much.
a bit.
So much. I mean, he made your list for encounters.
So, my number 1 is Galadriel.
Okay.
All right. So she's the Lady of Light. She was born before the First Age. I mean, that's how old she is.
Oh, I didn't realize she was that old.
So she and Celeborn married, and they had a daughter by the name of Celebrine, who married Elrond. So Elrond is Galadriel's son-in-law.
Oh, okay. So that makes her Arwen's Oh, that's right. I remember this now. We talked about it because we talked about how Arwen will go visit occasionally. Yes, I'm remembering this from the book now.
Right, and there were 3 children from that. Besides Arwen, there was the twin boys, Irohire and Eladin, and at this point, I can't remember if they're mentioned at all.
I feel like they're mentioned in the council briefly.
Yeah,
where a ton of people talk, and it's the most confusing chapter of my life.
And I think that they show up sometime during one of the big battles.
Okay, we'll look for it.
I'm not really sure, but I think it's so great that she is so, as she's so soft and kind.
Mm-hmm.
This character, she is both soft and kind, yet she's also someone who can be unforgiving and scary at points.
Yeah.
One of the parts I really like in the movie is when she does what you're talking about.
The scary thing.
Yeah, I could be the queen of the world type stuff. And the way they did reverse colors on her.
Yes. Yeah.
In the movie. And the way that's done, she almost still, maybe even she looks more gorgeous, even though it's a dark.
It's heavily filtered, and like she's supposed to look more beautiful and more gorgeous, but also like before she was more ethereal versus this is darker.
Right, you can see the darkness oozing out of her.
Yes, yeah.
But I mean, and she's a great character. I really like. She's one of the few that I like reading about and all the prequel stuff.
Okay.
Speaking of prequel, we got this movie, we got this TV show coming out.
Yeah.
That's pre.
Yes.
So there is a speculation that she might be a major character.
Okay.
In that.
Okay, we'll see.
So I would love to see that.
Yeah.
Now, you had to do top.
Well, first, I also was gonna ask if I could do my least favorite character since I did my favorite characters.
Oh, sure. Go ahead.
Okay. Saxo Baggins.
Well, yeah, of course.
They're my least favorite. Even Frodo doesn't offer them tea. That's how bad they are. Is Frodo a hobbit does not offer them, a fellow hobbit, tea. Like, that's just, it's so funny, it's so hilarious, and I love to hate them. I love to hate them.
Well, I mean, yeah, I didn't but right away, my least favorite character in there is Bill Ferny.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he's trash.
I mean,
he was Bill the Pony's original owner.
Right, and he sells the other hobbits out.
Yeah. He's just trash. He's a trash person.
He's a trashy person.
Yeah.
Kind of a, snake in the grass kind of guy. Which, you have to wonder about his backstory for him to be a hobbit. Yeah. And
still sell other hobbits out.
Yeah. So, and you know what? I think I'm assuming he is a hobbit.
I thought he was a human, honestly.
Yeah, for some reason I might be assuming he was a hobbit. Maybe I'm wrong.
I'm not gonna look this up now, so we'll look it up later.
Sounds good.
Okay.
So your top 2 things that I asked about.
You asked about surprises.
Okay, the top 2 surprises.
So the first surprise was, or should I do number 2 first?
We'll do number 2 first.
Okay, so number 2, learning what jetsam and floatsam was.
Yes.
Like, I'm not even kidding. This is haunting me. People have tweeted at me. The Discord is full of references to it.
I know, yeah, it's like
it is following me.
And I've been able to remember to pick on you too, like that.
You pick on me both on the podcast and at home.
Yeah, because my favorite one is when we talk about, if I remember, when we're talking about something, throwing something away, I say, just jettison it. Okay, so the so the so the two things.
The second, but
Okay,
my number one is because I only had like one true surprise. I think like the other stuff was kind of like slightly predictable, but the real surprise that I got was that Gollum sold them out to Shelob. I was not expecting that at all. That truly, truly surprised me. Like, obviously, Faramir kind of surprised me a little bit. I guess he gets an honorable mention because I just didn't know who he was and what was, like, the meeting him and everything. I had no clue about that. But, like, with Shelob, I kind of knew there was a spider involved somewhere along the line. And I always, like, assumed that it would just be this, just another monster. And not only was she, like, was I surprised as, like, she and Sauron have this, like, uh, cat evil dude relationship kind of thing.
yeah,
Is the best way to describe
kind
it.
of. It's not quite a love hate, but
It's a
they respect each other.
well, it not they don't respect each other. It's more like they tolerate each other because they get
True.
something out of the relationship.
Right.
It's co-parasitical, I think. And I know as a biology major that is not a correct thing, but that's the best way I can describe
exactly,
it.
Yeah.
Where they both have a parasite kind of relationship with each other.
Okay. So for me, I was supposed to pick the top two things that I noticed for the first time.
Yes. So what was your number two?
So my number two is realizing, I mean, I kind of knew this, but it never hit me until this time about how important this was.
Mm-hmm.
Merry and Pippin are their father's heirs to the titles of Master of Buckland and the Thane of the Shire. So they are, they're heirs to important people in the Shire.
I guess I didn't pick up on that totally.
Yeah, I never really picked up on it until this time, and which is also interesting because we've talked a couple of times. They're still technically under legal age.
Yeah, they're
they're under 33 years old.
They're the equivalents of like a 16 and 17-year-old.
Yeah, and so they take off on this dangerous journey with Frodo. And as far as we know, it doesn't seem like they've consulted or even informed their families, as far as I can tell.
Yeah.
Because they would try to stop them.
Yeah, they would have.
I mean, like I said, so these are heirs to. I mean.
So for those who don't know, a thane is essentially like a ruler of like a village kind of thing.
Right. Yeah.
In like medieval type of setting.
Right.
So like they're kind of like the mayors is a good way to put it.
Yeah.
Kind of like a mayor.
Right.
And they're like heirs to being the mayors, which.
And they're also kind of like the sheriff. Too.
Yeah, they're like the sheriff as well. Yeah. So that's absolutely insane that they are that. Which I mean, not to like judge them from what they're doing, because like when we were 16 and 17, we were dumb. Everyone is dumb at that age. Even geniuses are hormonally dumb at that age. So yeah, it's more like it's more like concerning on the part that's like, yeah, I don't think they told their parents. They're just like, bye guys.
Well, and I don't think they're realizing how serious this is either.
Right. I don't think they realized how serious it was at the beginning. I think they started to realize along the journey.
Right.
But and I think like I think it finally hit them. I think it was still kind of a jolly good fun, even through the orcs. Like, even though the orcs were serious, they were able to get out and they were able to still have their things with Treebeard. What I think is the turning point is the Planeteer. The Plantier. Plantier? That's it. Plantier. Where at that end of that, where Gandalf just whisks Pippin away and separates them, and it's that separation that I think moving forward is going to be that big like defining factor for them, because they're very close, they're best friends, they're almost like brothers, and I think having them separate will see more of their character develop.
Well, and also the thing I was thinking of too is now that I know this
Mm-hmm.
information. I mean, sure. I mean, the information's been out there. It's just the first time I've really noticed and thought about it this
Yeah.
time. That it really explains a lot about their personalities. They're kind of like, they're not quite like spoiled princesses,
They're so privileged.
but they never. I mean, they didn't.
They're wearing khaki shorts and boat shoes.
I'm gonna slap you. Yeah.
Totally threw you off. Sorry. Millennials will get it.
Anywho, they they've lived a privileged life. They don't know what. I mean, they don't know what hardship is.
Yeah.
And that's not their fault.
It's not their fault, no.
It's not their fault.
And I think what speaks to their level of who they are is knowing this, that they come from an even more privileged background than I even thought they did. They don't really complain on the journey much, if at all.
Well, I mean, they complain
about being hungry occasionally, but they don't mind sleeping on the ground too much. They don't mind all the walking and crazy stuff
because they still
on.
think that they until Weathertop, this is just another fun.
I mean, even after Weathertop.
Yeah.
Even after Weathertop, they're not really complaining that much.
Right. It's like,
they're still having air joy around them. They're not complaining about sleeping on the ground. They're not like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I don't have this. Like, they're not whiny.
Right.
And it's like, hi everyone, it's Editing Evelyn. So what happened here is somehow the recording stopped, and this episode kind of needs to go out. It is a bonus episode, so I hope you guys enjoyed the 41 and a half minutes of us talking. And I'm going to go ahead and publish our list. That way you can see what all of our list was. I'm going to go ahead and put that on our Instagram and our Twitter page. Again, I want to apologize that our stuff has been late lately. We just can't stop being sick, which Dad likes to refer to as a great emo song. So thank you all for listening, and as soon as I get the next book, we're going to start the next book. All right, see you guys later.